Brian.
Hello, Maggie.
Very recently, for everyone to know, Brian contacted Children Screaming to Be Heard.
Correct.
This again is a grandparent who's been wrongly accused, put into prison for no reason whatsoever. Correct. All on trumped up allegations.
Correct.
One of thousands, Brian is. So I'll let Brian tell you what happened to him.
Well, basically it was in September 2011, and I had sent my granddaughter a birthday card, and in September 2011 I was sitting at a bus stop, minding my own business, waiting for a bus, of course. My granddaughter got off the bus. I said hello to her. She ignored me and went on her way. Later that day I got arrested by the police at my house, who arrested me at midnight, and two officers came, put the handcuffs on and said, "You're under arrest." I asked them what for, because I'm naturally inquisitive and wanted to know why I was being arrested. They said that it was witness intimidation of my granddaughter, who at the time was just 12 years of age and has never been a witness in any trial whatsoever. So how on earth can you be accused of the witness intimidation of your own granddaughter, who's not even in a trial and therefore never been a witness?
But under the Gillick competence rule,
yes,
she should have been called.
Correct.
Yes.
But what happened was they used it, the authorities used it as an excuse to get me into prison. So they put me into Belmarsh top security prison, and between Belmarsh and Wandsworth I was taken from Belmarsh to Wandsworth, Wandsworth back to Belmarsh, and this went on for 7 weeks. Every few days I was moved around from one prison to the other, which meant that it was very, very difficult for people to get visitation orders to come and visit me in prison, or for me to get information out to people on the outside. Made it very difficult. Not impossible, because I did have 3 visits from the same person, but it made it very, very difficult, which was obviously the authorities' gain. However, whilst I was in prison, I got woken up one morning and said, "You're due in court today." I did not know of this court appearance. So I got woken up around 6 in the morning, got taken from the cell to the van to the court, and this was Bexley Magistrates Court on the 1st of November 2011, and it was an alleged case against me of the harassment of my own daughter and my granddaughter. And so I asked for all the trial papers. There were no trial papers. There was no jury bundle, no trial bundle.
That's normal in many cases.
It shouldn't be. Anyway, one would expect that if my daughter and my granddaughter were named as people in an harassment case, that they would be there as witnesses to say that I had harassed them. That's normal process. However, neither my daughter nor my granddaughter were in court.
But they never really made any charges.
They had never made any charges.
That's
However,
right.
at the end of during
well, these were allegations from the social workers and the police.
Social workers and the police.
Here we go again, you see, allegations.
Absolutely. And what I asked then, where is the evidence against me? I would have expected a witness statement from my daughter, a witness statement from my granddaughter. What the prosecutor did was to wave blank pieces of paper in court. "We have a letter here from your daughter saying she never wants to see you again. We have another one from your granddaughter. She never wants to see you again. And we have another one from friends of your daughter. They never want to see you again." So I said, that's okay, that's fine, give me the evidence. Well, I was never given these pieces of paper, and consequently they don't exist. So the magistrate, after retiring for about 5 or 10 minutes, came back and said, yes, Mr. Pead, I find you guilty of the harassment of your daughter and your granddaughter.
With no evidence.
With no evidence whatsoever, no witnesses. So this farce, after this farce, I went back to prison, obviously, and eventually I was released because the case against me for witness intimidation was clearly a made-up case, just to get me off the streets, because at that time, just prior to my unlawful arrest and unlawful imprisonment, I had written to Mr. Cameron, I'd written to Ken Clark, the Justice Minister, I'd written to Keir Starmer, the Director of Public Prosecutions, I'd written to Theresa May, the Home Secretary, and I'd written to many MPs as well.
Doesn't matter, you never get a reply.
Well, exactly. What had that happened, after I'd written all these letters, I then got arrested on these jumped up charges and put in prison. But in these letters I had explained about child abuse in Lambeth, racism in Lambeth that went unreported. I had also explained about police corruption, and I had provided them with incontrovertible evidence of police corruption. And what happened was, I then got arrested on these jumped up charges and put in prison after I had written all these letters to the authorities. And so consequently I now have an order against me where I'm not allowed to see my daughter or grandchildren for 18 months. As I came out of prison, I then wrote to a solicitor who had represented me in court, and I said I want the letters from my daughter and granddaughter and her friends that say they never want to see me again. We haven't got them, the solicitor said. The barrister has them. So I wrote to the barrister said, you guessed it, we haven't got them, the solicitor's got them.
Yeah, but this happens in so many cases. This is happening throughout. Paperwork is disappearing.
Sure.
It's
Well,
getting
or
lost.
non-existent.
Non-existent.
In my case, Maggie, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so they were waving blank pieces of paper around in court. Anybody can do that.
This comes back to what I said earlier about lawyers. There's no lawyers there who are really representing the families, speaking up for them.
Correct.
They're just there earning their money, most of them. There are good lawyers out there and good barristers.
Right.
But a lot of them just stand there and, you know,
Correct.
shake their head, wave a piece of paper, full stop.
And what many people don't realise, Maggie, is that the court system in England and Wales is a money-making machine. It's actually not a court system as we think it is. It's actually listed on Dun & Bradstreet. It's a company.
Yeah, I know
and
it is.
it is therefore a money-making machine,
That's right.
the courts of England and Wales. But going back to my case specifically, I now have an 18-month banning order of banning me from contact with my daughter, my grandchildren, and I'm not even allowed to go down the road in which they live in Sidcup. Not even allowed to do that. So this is the current order out on me, but that actually expires very shortly, so it's going to be very interesting.
But I must say, we've got, I think it's about 300 parents who are in court, are in prison, serving a prison sentence. We've got the Musa family. They're serving, Mr. and Mrs. Musa are serving 7 years. Apparently her eldest daughter one day threw a letter out of a window, and on that letter this little girl, I think she was 12 or something like that, was asking for help. Anyone going to Tottenham will know it's a shit heap. There's papers everywhere. It's not a very nice area to live. So we've got a neighbour coming down the road and picks up this one letter from all this rubbish in the road. How does she find one letter which disappears, cannot be shown in the court because there's no record of that letter, and the Musas are in prison, starting basically from all of that, and that these children have been trafficked into England to sell them. They weren't there for to be sold. So it comes back to your waving the papers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course, and this goes on all the time in courts, as you rightly say. But basically, as I've said, the courts in England and Wales are mere money-making machines. But it's going to be very interesting soon, as I've said, because the order that I've got at the moment against me, a restraining order, would you believe?
Is it on the book?
It's not in the current book, it's in my next book.
Right.
About it all. And so the restraining order on me finishes in May this year. So there's going to be a very, very interesting time around May, June. Because obviously I will be expecting contact with my daughter and grandchildren again, and it'll be very interesting to see how the authorities react to that.
Ah, they'll stop it.
Well,
do you know why they'll stop it? Because it's more money in the system.
Sure, of course, but also they don't want me talking to my daughter because they do not want. She was threatened by Bexley Social Services, I can say that much. By Bexley Social Services, she was threatened that if she made contact with me, remained in contact and maintained that contact, she would have the children removed into care. Right, so we have to be very clear, and you've gone on YouTube in other messages and other videos saying that how corrupt social services are. I believe you, I agree with you, and this is yet another instance of where the social services are exerting pressure on families and on innocent people and innocent children in order to prevent corruption from getting out into the public domain.
Yeah, but it's also jobs.
Yes,
and money.
Yes, I understand all of that, but it is also as well about they're trying to prevent corruption from getting out into the public domain.
This is why I keep saying the whole nation has got to come out in March.
Yes.
We need you won't probably know of this, but it's called the Jarrow March.
Yes, I've heard of
and
that.
out they came, they marched, and things changed.
Correct. So I just want the message for people to know that I was falsely imprisoned for 7 weeks in Wandsworth and Belmarsh, and that I currently am allegedly guilty of the crime of harassment of my own daughter by sending her a letter about corruption, and also allegedly harassment of my granddaughter by sending her a birthday card. And so I want people to know that this is going on and that it's wrong. Thank you very much indeed. And
if anybody wants to get in touch, then contact Children Screaming to Be Heard. You can call the mobile, which is 077 677 107 56, or you can call 01702 341 999. Lovely number, 999. Don't ask me how Children Screaming to Be Heard got 999. Isn't it amazing? I wish it was 999 to help them. Anyway, thank you, Brian.
You are welcome. Thank you, Maggie.